Bienvenidos, damas y caballeros. In this video, we're going to read a short story about Napoleon's legendary return to France after having escaped from his exile to the island of Elba. Once on France, the French king Louis XVIII sends the army to detain Napoleon. But upon confronting his former troops, Napoleon gives an inspirational speech to them, inspiring them to defect from the monarchy and join Napoleon's open revolt. Afterwards, we're going to take a look at 3 different use cases of the imperfect subjunctive grammatical form. The story is called El Regreso de Napoleón desde Elba, and it's narrated by the man himself. El primero de marzo de 1815, desembarqué en la costa de Francia, en Golfe Juan, tras escapar de la isla de Elba. Mis enemigos en Europa habían decidido que yo debería desaparecer de la historia, pero yo no podía permitir que Francia olvidara lo que habíamos logrado. Avanzamos hacia Grenoble. Sabía que el rey Luis XVIII enviaría tropas para detenerme y mis hombres temían que nos dispararan sin compasión. Sin embargo, yo tenía fe en el espíritu francés. Al llegar al Havre, un regimiento bloqueó el camino. Me adelanté solo con el pecho descubierto y les hablé. Soldados del quinto de línea, soy vuestro emperador. ¿No me reconocéis? Si hay entre vosotros algún soldado que quiera matar a su emperador, aquí me tenéis. Hubo un silencio profundo. Entonces los soldados rompieron la formación, arrojaron sus fusiles y gritaron: ¡Viva el emperador! ¡Viva el emperador! En ese instante supe que la historia cambiaría. Con cada paso hacia París, la nación entera se levantaba conmigo. Yo pedí a Dios que me concediera la fuerza para guiar otra vez a mi pueblo, aun cuando Europa entera se preparaba para enfrentarme. And that was a story of Napoleon's legendary return to France, being confronted by his former soldiers, and upon an inspirational call to action, they defected from the French monarchy and joined his ranks in open rebellion. Now, what I want to do is take a look at the 3 different use cases of the imperfect subjunctive grammatical form. The first use case is highlighted right here in bold, olvidará. The second is dispararan. And the third one is right here, concediera. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the sentence that has this word in it. Pero yo no podía permitir que Francia olvidara lo que habíamos logrado. But I could not permit that France forget what we have accomplished. The first thing I want to point out is the syntactical structure. So a common syntactical structure for the subjunctive is you have one subject plus a trigger word or phrase that includes the word que, plus the second subject and then a verb as well. So first we have Napoleon. Yo no podía permitir. I could not permit. Plus the trigger word que, plus the second subject, France, and then that France forget. Syntactical structure for the use of the subjunctive is present. It is a necessary but not sufficient condition, because we could just be stating a fact, in which case, okay, it has the syntactical structure that we're looking for, but still, we're just saying a fact. It's a known bit of information. That's not why we use the subjunctive. So we need more cues. Here it's saying, pero yo no podía permitir que Francia olvidará lo que habíamos logrado. So he's talking about a counterfactual. I cannot permit the possibility of France forgetting what we have accomplished together. He cannot permit this counterfactual from taking place. When you're talking about possibilities and counterfactuals, you're talking about the use case of the subjunctive. So let's go to my notes here. Que Francia olvidara. The trigger no podía permitir que. Why subjunctive? Permitir creates a noun clause of influence. Napoleon is trying to prevent something from happening, right? We mentioned this. He doesn't want France to forget all the great things that they've accomplished throughout the Napoleonic War. The outcome is uncertain. He doesn't want the French to forget, but they could. And that is why we need to use the subjunctive form. Now, one thing I've not pointed out yet is why are we using the imperfect subjunctive? There's the present tense, there's the perfect, there's a whole perfect. There's many different subjunctive forms we could have used. Why are we using the imperfect? What triggers the use of the imperfect is that the first verb is in the past tense, right? So we go back here, yo no podía, the imperfect past tense. Yo no podía in the indicative form. Past tense in the first clause implies past tense use in the second clause because we're still, it's the same sentence and we're still talking about the same thing at the same point in time. So that's everything you need to know as to why this use of the word olvidar must necessarily be conjugated in an imperfect subjunctive grammatical form. And that's it. Let's move on. So the second subjunctive verb is right here. Let's go ahead and read it. Mis hombres temían que nos dispararan sin compasión. This one's actually pretty straightforward, I think. So the first subject is mis hombres, the French soldiers that Napoleon was permitted to keep during his exile in Elba, which might have been like 1,000 soldiers, I don't recall exactly. And so he's saying, mis hombres, the soldiers that arrived to the coast of France alongside Napoleon, they feared, hombres temían, they feared that the army, that the monarch that Louis sent to detain Napoleon would fire upon them. This is a pretty clear-cut case of use of the subjunctive. The first subject is the soldiers feared. Come on. When you're expressing an emotion, especially such an obvious emotion like fear, you know that subjunctive is just around the corner. Very likely anyways. So the first subject is mis hombres, they feared, past tense, temían, plus trigger word, que, plus the second subject, nos dis. That's the French army that was sent by Louis XVIII. And there you go. That's it. Now we know that the imperfect subjunctive grammatical form must necessarily be used, right? So we have the syntactical structure, which applies the use of the subjunctive. We have the broader context, the first subject, feared, temían, and it's in the past tense, right? So syntactical trigger is there, the emotional trigger is there, and the past tense trigger is there for the use of the imperfect subjunctive. Disparara. The last verb here is here. So I'll go ahead and read the entire phrase in which it appears in. Pedía a Dios que me concediera la fuerza para girar otra vez en mi pueblo. So syntactically, everything we need to be there is there. Okay, so I think the first subject is actually God, Dios, and the second subject is Napoleon, right? Que me concediera la fuerza. Yeah, there we go. All right, so you have the two different subjects. You have the trigger word get in the middle. Syntactically, we have what we need. And then we have a request, a beg, a hope, essentially, a prayer to God. Obviously, we got to use a subjunctive in that case. The question becomes which form of the subjunctive. We see that pedir is conjugated in the imperfect indicative, pedía. Therefore, that implies necessarily that we use the imperfect subjunctive grammatical form, and that's what we see in the phrase or sentence. Concediera la fuerza. That's it. That's the story. That's the three different use cases of the imperfect subjunctive form. If you like what we're doing here, if this made a lot of sense to you, go ahead and let me know by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and most importantly, engage in the comments section. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you didn't like. Love, hate, either way, I want to hear about it because ultimately it's engagement that helps this channel grow. Until next time, ciao, ciao.